friends, Sheila here. I am a nutritionist and bicycle traveler, and today we are talking about how to stay positive on a bike tour. Bike tours are incredibly fun, they're very exciting, but they are also really demanding. They're physically demanding, emotionally demanding, mentally demanding. Over my time bike touring, I have developed 6 strategies that help me be as positive and happy as possible so that I can really enjoy my bike touring experience. It doesn't mean I don't have bad hours or bad moments or even bad days. Negative emotions are part of the human experience. But these strategies do help me reduce the risk of getting into a bad mood, and they also help me return to a place of positivity sooner rather than later.
Especially when I don't have this cute little one to keep me company on the road.
Tip number 1, and this is probably the most important. That's why I put it first, that even if you don't make it to the end of this video, you at least get this one. But if you can, try to stick around because number 6 is pretty important too. Tip number 1 is to take care of your basic needs. And to remember these basic needs, I think of the 4 S's: sustenance, sleep, safety, and socializing. Biologically, our body's main goal is to keep us alive. And that means if we are lacking in some of our basic needs like food, water, shelter, we're not going to be able to even think about being positive or upbeat. Our bodies are going to be too focused on achieving those basic needs and getting us to safety. So let's break these down a little. Sustenance is food and water. Being hangry is a very real thing. In order for me to really enjoy and be present in my bike tour, I need to have enough food. If you need some tips on how to nourish and fuel your body on a bike tour, I did make a whole video and guide, which I will link above and below so you can get some more tips there. The key things I find are 1, to make sure that I'm eating and drinking regularly, and also I err on the side of caution. So I will carry more food, even if it means carrying more weight. I prefer to always have some backups. So if I get into town and that corner store I was planning to stop into doesn't exist or everything's closed, I at least have some trail mix or leftovers or energy bars to get me through the day. And when it comes to water, I try to make sure I never miss an opportunity to fill up my water bottles. Even if it's inconvenient or I feel like I don't need to stop yet, I just try to always stop and fill up my water bottles and keep looking ahead so I know when my next source of water and food is, so that I'm not gonna end up in a food and water desert and not be able to top up my stores. When it comes to sleep, oof, I need a good sleep. Otherwise, I'm a grump. I am a grump. So I need to make sure that I get enough sleep, which 1, make sure that I'm getting to bed in good time, and 2, making sure that I feel safe wherever I am choosing to sleep. Which brings me to the 3rd part of number 1, which is safety. And this is probably the most important one for me, although food is really important. Food. Because if I do not feel safe, I can't be positive. I just can't. My body and brain are too focused on keeping me alive and keeping me safe, and so I'm not going to be positive or be able to really enjoy that experience. So some of the things I try to do to make sure I feel safe is looking ahead for accommodations. So usually the day before, I will look at the next day what accommodation options I have so that I have some ideas along the road. That way I have a few options so I can find the one that feels like the right fit. Another big one when it comes to safety is roads and road conditions. I find I don't do very well on long stretches of busy roads, especially when they don't have a shoulder. And so I will actively look for cycleways and bike routes and ask locals for advice. I also usually look up possible routes on 2 separate apps. I usually use Komoot and Maps.me, and I compare and contrast and see which one I feel like doing. And then another big one when it comes to safety is weather conditions. So for 1, I'll take a day off or take some time off if the weather feels really dangerous. And then I also make sure that I'm never getting too cold or too hot. So I have full waterproof gear, and I make sure that it is easy to grab should I need it. I also travel with many layers so that I will never be cold. And if it's calling for a really hot day, I try to travel early in the morning so the heat isn't at its peak. And I did actually make a full video about some of the ways I help myself feel safe when I'm solo bike touring, which again, I will link above and below. And the last S is socializing. And this, of course, is going to vary from person to person, but we are social creatures, and not having social connections can make us feel isolated. And that can make it a lot harder for us to have fun and be positive on a bike tour. For this one, I find it's all about knowing our own limits. For instance, I'm somebody that I do really well with my own time. I really like being on my own, but I do sometimes hit that limit where I just feel isolated and I feel like I need to connect with people. So finding the unique balance that each of us needs, I think, is really important. So once we have these basic needs met, then there are some other things to consider. And that brings me to number 2, which is to plan, but to be prepared for change. And I know there are as many different degrees and ways of planning as there are bike tourers. We all do it differently, which is part of why I love bike touring so much. For me personally, I find some planning helps to instill that sense of safety. I have some ideas, I've done my research, I feel a little bit better, and that helps me maintain my positivity when I'm out on the road. But no matter how much or how little I prepare, I have to be prepared for change. Because even if I plan out my whole route, I know exactly where I'm going and where I'm staying, there's gonna be road closures or weather changes, or you might meet another cyclist on the road and want to ride with them or stay with them or have dinner with them. I find I have an even better trip when I allow space for that change, because for one, it creates these really unique opportunities, and when something unexpected does happen, I don't get grumpy and say, oh, that was supposed to go this way. I just take it as part of the journey and try to figure it out as I go. I think bike touring is really about the journey, and if we can accept that all of those little challenges and changes are part of the journey, that can really help us stay positive and enjoy every part of the experience. Number 3 is to work on communication, and that goes for whether we are traveling with a partner or a group or just on our own. If you're bike touring with other people and you find that certain things are kind of building up inside you, maybe you feel like somebody is biking ahead too much, or they're not helping with something, or they want to do different things than you want to do, I find it's really helpful to have a kind and honest conversation about it and to find solutions. And on the other hand, when you're bike touring on your own, I think it's really important to still work on that communication with yourself. If you're getting down on yourself for not biking as far as you want to, or as fast as you want to, or for any other number of things that we can be hard on ourselves for, is there a way that you can reframe that and speak to yourself more kindly? Because you are with your brain every minute and hour of every day. So can you have a little patience and compassion for yourself in those challenging moments? Number 4 is to listen to your body and to take days off. I know this can be a hard one. We can have so much that we want to accomplish. We might even be working on a short time frame that we need to accomplish this tour. But I know for myself, if I really feel like I'm grinding away and I'm just not enjoying my days, taking a day off or even just doing a shorter, easier day can make such a difference and really bring back my energy and my positivity. Yes, sometimes we need to push ourselves up that hill to challenge ourselves, to go a little further, but sometimes we also need to listen to what our bodies are telling us and slow down and take it easy and maybe even take a day or 2 off. And that brings me to number 5, which is to give yourself permission to quit. I know this goes against everything we're told. We're always told to push on and be strong and be tough. But I, for myself, have found great value in giving myself permission to quit. There was a time on my European bike tour that I just felt like day after day I wasn't having fun. And at first I said, no, you have to keep going, you've planned, you committed to this. And then instead I shifted it. And I started speaking to myself more gently. And I was like, hey, okay, if you want to quit, what do we want to do? What are some options? Do you want to bike to the next city, which is a couple of days away, and get a flight out? Do you want to bike to the next town and maybe take a day or 2 or a week off? Do you want to see if you can find a cheap flight somewhere totally different and start bike touring there? And I found by speaking to myself gently and having this compassion for myself, it let me actually really get in touch with what I wanted. And rather having this tension and friction inside of, you have to keep going, I don't want to keep going, you have to keep going, I don't want to keep going, I just took that deep breath and went, okay, you don't have to keep going. And then that little voice in the back of my head went, I guess I want to keep going. And then I ended up having an amazing rest of my trip. So I know it goes against everything we're taught to believe about quitting, but for me, really works. Number 6 is to find gratitude. I think we probably all have plenty of gratitude when we head out on a trip, right? We're planning, we head out, we're so excited, we're so grateful that we have this opportunity to go and do this bicycle adventure. But then all of a sudden, you know, you're a week in, your body's tired, maybe it's pouring rain, you're biking uphill all day, and it can be harder to find that gratitude. But gratitude is a muscle in a way. And if we practice it regularly and make that habit of finding it even in those hard moments, it can really turn things around. So if you're having a really hard day, can you find those things to be grateful for? That really nice morning coffee, the sounds of the birds chirping, that really nice view you saw yesterday or that morning, because it really is a blessing to be out on a bike tour even in those hard moments. And chances are, wherever you are, you're not gonna get to be there again. And even if you are, it's not going to be this exact moment and this exact experience. So finding that gratitude for that moment and for the fact that you're there can make all the difference and really turn the experience around. Okay friends, those are my 6 ways that I stay positive on a bike tour. Now of course, these are just strategies that work for me. I would definitely encourage you to keep getting curious about yourself, learning more about yourself, and also doing your own research to figure out what works for you. I would love to hear from you. If you haven't gone on a bike tour yet, what are some ways that you stay positive in your day-to-day life? And if you have gone bike touring or bike packing or bicycle traveling in any capacity, what are some of the strategies you use to stay positive on a bike tour? Do you use some of the same ones as me? Do you have some different ones? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for being here. Like, subscribe, share, all the good stuff. I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Bye.